The cold of the stone floor in the Chapel of Ascension is not merely a temperature, it is a living thing, a leech that has attached itself to my knees and is slowly draining the warmth from my marrow. I have been kneeling here since the Compline bell rang, a sound that seems to belong to another lifetime, another world where time moved in hours and minutes, not in agonizing stretches of heartbeats between fear and silence. The candle on the altar, a thick pillar of beeswax that was tall when the sun set, is now a puddle of molten gold, the wick drowning in its own sustenance, sputtering with the last gasps of a dying star. I am the only thing in this room that is vertical. Around me, in the shadows of the nave, lie the bodies of my brothers. Some are sleeping, the fitful, twitching sleep of men who expect to wake up screaming. Others are dead, their white mantles stained with the dark, crusting map of their final sacrifice, their faces covered by linen cloths that flutter slightly in the draft from the arrow slits. I am the vigil. I am the watcher. I am the last consciousness standing between the remnant of our garrison and the absolute, devouring dark that waits outside the heavy oak doors. We are in the outpost of Castel Pellerin, the pilgrim's castle, but there are no pilgrims here tonight. There is only the howling wind of the Levant, carrying with it the scent of dust, dry grass, and the campfires of the Mamluk army that has surrounded us. They are out there, thousands of them, a sea of green banners and curved steel that has been breaking against our walls for 3 weeks. We are 12 knights left from a company of 60. The rest are buried in the moat or rotting on the battlements where they fell. The master is dead. The marshal is dead. I, Geoffrey de Montagne, a man whose hair has turned white not from age but from the alchemy of horror, and the senior brother. I ordered the others to rest. I told them to close their eyes, to find what peace they could before the dawn brings the final assault. They obeyed, not because they trust my command, but because they are too exhausted to argue with a ghost. I told them I would watch. I told them I would pray. But as I stare at the crucifix above the altar, the wood chipped and the paint peeling, I am not praying for victory. I am praying for the strength to die standing up. The weight of my armor is a penance I cannot shed. The chainmail hauberk, the heavy plate pauldrons, the greaves, they are rusted with sweat and blood, fusing to my gambonel, becoming a second skin of iron that holds my crumbling body together. My sword lies on the stone before me, the crossguard forming a silhouette against the dying candlelight. It is a good blade, forged in Toledo, balanced and sharp, but it feels like a toy against the monstrosity of the night. The darkness outside is heavy. It presses against the arrow slits like a physical weight, a black ocean trying to crush a diving bell. I can hear them moving out there, the scuff of boots on rock, the clinking of bridles, the low guttural murmur of men who know they have already won. They are waiting for the sun. They are waiting for the light to show them where to place the ladders, where to aim the mangonels. They know we have no water. They know we have no arrows left. They are savoring the anticipation, the way a wolf savors the trembling of a trapped lamb. And I am the lamb who refuses to tremble, forcing my breath to come slow and deep, dragging the air into lungs that feel like they are filled with broken glass. The silence of the chapel is amplified by the noise of the wind. Every creak of the roof beams sounds like a footstep. Every flutter of the altar cloth looks like a movement in the corner of my eye. I am fighting the phantoms of exhaustion. I see faces in the shadows. The face of my father, who told me honor was a shield. The face of the Saracen boy I killed at Acre, his eyes wide with surprise. The face of Christ, looking down with a sorrow that feels too human. My knees scream in protest, a burning agony that radiates up my thighs and down to my ankles, but I do not move. To move is to admit that the body rules the spirit. To move is to break the vigil. I have sworn to watch until the dawn. I have sworn to be the eyes of the order until the light returns. If I close my eyes now, if I succumb to the seduction of sleep, the darkness wins. And the darkness is not just the absence of light, it is the absence of God. It is the void that I saw in the eyes of the men we buried. I grip the hilt of my sword, the leather grip slick with the oil of my own palms, and I stare into the flame, willing it to stay alive for one more hour, one more minute. I am the lighthouse on the edge of the world. The crisis of the night arrives not with a shout, but with a whisper. It is the darkest hour, that terrible span of time between the third cockcrow and the first hint of gray, when the soul is most naked. The candle finally gives up the ghost. The wick curls, flares blue, and vanishes. The darkness rushes in, absolute and suffocating. I am blind. The chapel, once a sanctuary of familiar shapes, becomes a tomb of infinite depth. In the blackness, the sounds of the enemy seem to amplify 1,000-fold. I hear the scratching of grappling hooks against the outer wall. I hear the breathing of men on the other side of the door. Is it real? Or is it the madness of the siege taking root in my mind? Panic, cold and reptilian, uncoils in my gut. I want to shout. I want to wake my brothers. I want to light a torch to banish the shadows, to prove that I am not alone. But I hold my tongue. I bite down on my lip until I taste the copper tang of blood. To wake them is to rob them of their last moments of peace. To light a torch is to give the enemy a target. I remain in the dark, a statue of invisible iron. And in that deprivation of sight, the memories come flooding in, unbidden and cruel. I remember the heat of the horns of Hattin, the thirst that drove men to drink the blood of their horses. I remember the fall of Jerusalem, the wailing of the women as they were dragged away in chains. I remember the vows I took: poverty, chastity, obedience. What do those vows mean here, in the dark? Poverty? I have nothing but my death. Chastity? I have been raped by war. Obedience? I am obeying a command given by a God who has stopped speaking to us. The doubt gnaws at me. Why are we here? Why did we come to this land of dust and fire? To build castles that crumble? To guard shrines that are empty? The Holy Sepulchre is a stone box. Is God inside it, or is he out there in the desert, laughing with the wind? My hand trembles on the sword hilt. The temptation to despair is sweeter than wine. It would be so easy to lay down, to unbuckle the armor, to curl up on the cold stone and let the end come. Who would know? Who would judge? The history books will say we died heroes. They will not record the shivering, the urine running down the leg, the silent, screaming question of why. I feel a tear trace a hot path through the grime on my cheek. It is a tear of rage. I am angry at the silence. I am angry at the heavy, crushing weight of the cross we have carried for 2 centuries. I can hear the Mamelukes chanting now, a rhythmic, hypnotic lowing that drifts over the walls. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. God is great. Is he? Is he great enough to save 12 broken men? Or is his greatness measured in the vastness of our suffering? I squeeze my eyes shut in the dark, pressing the heels of my hands against my eyelids until I see sparks of false light. I force myself to recite the psalm, De profundis clamavi ad te, Domine. Out of the depths I have cried unto thee, O Lord. The words are dry ash in my mouth. I do not feel the presence of the Lord. I feel only the cold stone, the ache in my bones, and the terrified beating of my own heart. But I do not move. I do not stand. I keep the posture of the penitent. If I am to die, let the enemy find me on my knees. Let them see that even in the dark, even without hope, the Templar does not break formation. I turn my focus to the rhythm of my breathing. In, out, in, out. I am the clock. I am the measure of time. I will wait. I will wait for the dawn, even if I know that the dawn brings the sword. I will be the witness to the end of the world. The hours stretch into an eternity, a torture of time where every second is a struggle against the gravity of sleep and the paralysis of fear. My body has gone beyond pain. It is now a numbness, a strange floating sensation, as if my soul is trying to detach from the ruin of my flesh. I hear the rustle of a brother stirring in his sleep, a moan of a nightmare. "Mother," he whispers. It is young Thomas, a boy who should be in the fields of Burgundy, not dying in a stone box in the Levant. His voice anchors me. I am not watching for myself. I am watching for him. I am the father who stands by the crib while the wolves circle the house. This realization steadies me. It is not about God anymore. It is about the man next to you. It is about the sacred duty of not dying alone. Then the quality of the darkness changes. It does not become light, but it becomes less heavy. The air shifts, growing colder, sharper. The wind dies down, leaving a stillness that is more terrifying than the noise. It is the hush of the world holding its breath. I open my eyes. The arrow slit, which had been a void of black, now shows a faint, almost imperceptible bruising of purple. The dawn. The enemy will attack at first light. I know this. It is the custom of war. They will want to see the fear in our eyes before they cut our throats. I reach out and touch the cold stone of the floor, pushing myself up. My joints scream, a symphony of cracking cartilage and rusted metal. I stagger, catching myself on the altar. I must wake the others. I must tell them it is time to die. But something stops me. A sound, or rather the absence of a sound. The chanting has stopped. The shuffling of the horses has stopped. There is no clatter of ladders being raised. There is no roar of the charge. There is only a profound, ringing silence. I limp towards the heavy oak door, my sabatons clanking on the flagstones. I unbar it, the wood groaning in protest. I push it open and step out into the small courtyard, then up the stairs to the battlements. The air is crisp, smelling of dew and ancient dust. I reach the parapet and look out over the desert. The sun begins to crest the mountains of Moab in the east. It is not a gradual sunrise. It is an explosion of gold. The light hits the dust suspended in the air, turning the valley into a bowl of luminous mist. And there, I see it, the miracle. It is not an army of angels. It is not a relief force from Europe. The plain below is empty. The thousands of tents, the siege engines, the sea of soldiers, they are gone, vanished. The ground is churned and muddy, marked by the tracks of a hasty, chaotic retreat. I grip the rough stone of the battlement, my mind reeling. Have I gone mad? Is this the final hallucination before death? I look to the east, directly into the rising sun, and then I see what they saw. Atmospheric crystals, suspended in the dawn mist, have caught the light of the rising sun, but they have refracted it, twisted it, multiplied it. There is not one sun in the sky. There are three. A great, burning trinity of light hangs over the mountains, connected by a halo of rainbow fire, a parhelion, a sundog. But to the superstitious eyes of the Mamluk army, weary from weeks of siege, fearful of the sorcerer knights in their high tower, it must have looked like the sign of the Trinity itself descending to smite them. They saw the sky burning with three suns. They saw the cross of light formed by the vertical pillar of the dawn, and they broke. They ran from the light. I stand there, the wind whipping my gray hair, tears streaming freely down my face now. The other brothers are stumbling out onto the wall behind me, rubbing their eyes, their swords drawn, expecting death. They stop. They stare. They drop their weapons. The sound of steel hitting stone echoes like a prayer. God is with us, Thomas whispers, falling to his knees. I do not speak. I cannot speak. I simply watch the light. I watched through the night when there was no hope, and I am watching now when the hope is too bright to bear. The vigil is over. The darkness did not win. I raise my rusted gauntlet to the three suns, not in triumph, but in a silent, trembling acknowledgement of a mystery I will never understand. We are alive, and the dawn has come.